Is that the new official planning department? Virtual background?
It's one of several that have access to it. I'm actually in my office today. So.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's good. Yeah.
Other people in the building, or are you?
You.
Can the public come in and see you?
No, not yet.
And are you on Figueroa or are you down at City Hall?
Yeah.
Figueroa.
Anywhere when would you become publicly accessible again?
Not yet. It's being more actively discussed and not so. Could we promote Rita Cofield? Because I'm going to mention her in my director's.
Rita is going to be on, Kim.
Will do. Want to promote her to a panelist.
Yes.
Okay, let's give another minute or two.
Recording in progress.
It looks like Rita's in the office today.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you, can I take off my mask while I'm at the desk and there's no one around?
I think if there's no, yeah, could you go ahead?
So I want to share really quickly that I have a new job.
Okay. Congratulations.
So thank you. So I work for Snapchat.
Whoa.
The tech company and everything, all the affluence they think they can think of that people talk about tech is true. Just amazing. They have amazing offices in Santa Monica. Anyway, I work under their people department, and I just started there 3 weeks ago. That's why I missed my other, because I got pulled into a conference. But anyway, I'll keep you posted. So far, so good. And
What's your position there? What do you?
So I'm a senior manager for what they call council. And so council is a practice where we offer this opportunity for staff to talk, to get in circles and talk about themselves and tell stories. And it really promotes teamwork and people getting to know one another in a different level. And so, Snap is the only corporation that does this right now, but the hope is to expand to other places. It's a practice that's been going on since 1978. And I am in charge of the Americas and Australia. And that means, we have like 12 offices, and they're worldwide companies, so they're in other continents. But for now, that's my role, and my job is to scale up. So it's a fast and furious environment, but
One of my neighbors works on Snapchat. I'll have them look you up.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the latest commissioner news. Let's start our meeting. Welcome to the Cultural Heritage Commission meeting. Today is Thursday, March 17th, 2022. The time is 10:03 a.m. My name is Barry Malofsky, and I am Commission President. In accordance with Government Code Section 54953, subsections E1 and E3, and in light of the state of emergency proclaimed by the Governor on March 4th, 2020, relating to COVID-19, the Cultural Heritage Commission meeting will be conducted via Zoom webinar and telephonically. Alice, roll call, please.
Of course. Allison Watt for the record. Commissioner Barron.
Yes.
Commissioner Belna.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenner.
Yes.
Commission Vice President Kennard.
Yes.
And Commission President Malofsky.
Yes.
Quorum has been established.
Thank you. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Therefore, we ask that you state your name before you speak. Audio for this meeting will be available online within 2 business days. The agenda and meeting presentations are available online through the Planning Department website. There's a link to access the presentations at the top of the agenda. As in the past, this meeting can be heard through the council phone by dialing 213-621-2489 or 818-904-9450. Members of the public can now also view this meeting while meeting online by clicking on the Zoom link located near the top of the agenda. If you wish to speak before this commission, you may do so by accessing the meeting online through Zoom link or via the phone number provided on the agenda. If you're accessing the meeting online via Zoom, click on the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen once public comment is open for the item or items you wish to speak on. Commission office staff will call your name if available when it is your turn to speak. You will see a prompt stating, "The host would like you to unmute." Please click on unmute. Please note that while commissioners, planning staff, city attorney, and presenters will be visible to everyone, members of the public giving public comment will not be visible to everyone. If you are calling in and would like to give public comment, please press *9 on your phone when public comment period is open for the item or items you wish to speak on. Commission office staff will announce the last 4 digits of your phone number, if available, when it is your turn to speak. Once you hear a message that states, you're unmuted, press *6 to unmute on your end, and you may begin to provide your public comment. Please state your name clearly and then proceed with your comment. Please be mindful of background noise while you are speaking so we can hear you clearly. Your time is being monitored by commission staff remotely, and at the end of your time limit for public comment, you'll hear a buzzer sound or a verbal indicator, and I will ask you to wrap up your remarks. If you represent a certified neighborhood council and you have a written resolution or community impact statement, please submit it at this time to chc@lacity.org. If you have any day of meeting submissions, please submit it at this time to chc@lacity.org. Members of the public can view these submissions by clicking on the link at the top of the agenda. If you would like to be added to the interested parties list to receive a determination letters for any of the agenda items from today's meeting, please email chc@lacity.org with your contact, email, or mailing address information and case number associated with the item. We thank you in advance for your patience as staff may need extra time to forecast. Item number 1. The first item on the agenda is the determination to continue holding meetings via teleconference. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E1B through C, E3A, and E3BI, the determination that the COVID-19 state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of members of the public to meet safely in person and possible commission action. Before us is a resolution to continue holding Cultural Heritage Commission meetings via teleconference and or video conferences under the Government Code section just stated. Have my fellow commissioners had an opportunity to review the resolutions? Any questions? Okay, seeing none, let's open public comment.
Yes, Diego Vasquez, City Planning. Public comment on item number 1 for the resolution. Anyone that wishes to address the commission, you have 1 minute. Simple instructions to address the commission. If you dialed in telephonically and would like to give public comment, please press *9 and *6 to unmute. First caller, Noel Gold, you have been unmuted. Please unmute. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you so much, commissioners. I'm actually with the Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Council and here to speak on item number 6. So perhaps
If you can hold your comment. Item number 6.
Should I lower it and raise it again?
Lower it, raise it again.
Gotcha. Thanks so much, everybody.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Malinsky, we do not have any more hands raised for this item.
Okay, do we have any certified neighborhood council or council member representatives that would like to speak?
Barry, excuse me, Commissioner Malinsky, do we need a motion on item number 1?
We'll get there in a second.
Oh,
We're still
waiting.
on public comment to item number 1.
Commissioner Malinsky, we have 1 more hand raised for public comment. Do you want to address that?
If it's on item number 1, yes, let's do that.
Okay. Diane Nave, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Thank you. No, I'm here to speak on the next item, neighborhood council representatives.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's close public comment and do I have a motion?
Sure, this is Commissioner Canner. I move to adopt the resolution under which the commission finds that holding meetings in person would present imminent risk to the health or safety of attendees due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
This is Commissioner Welton, I second that.
Alice?
Allison Nawat for the record. Commissioner Canner,
Yes.
Commissioner Balna,
Yes.
Commissioner Barron,
Yes.
Commission Vice President Tenard,
Yes.
and Commission President Velasquez.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Moving on to item number 2, Director's Report and Commission Business. You have a Director's Report?
Yes, good morning, Commissioner Canford, team with the Office of Restored Resources. Good to be with you this morning. I do not have any of my usual council and committee updates. There's not been council actions since our last meeting. The council's on recess this week for the National League of Cities meeting. So I wanted to take this time to introduce a new member of our team who actually is someone who probably does not need introduction to each of you. Rita Cofield has joined us. As of last week, she's been retained by the Getty Conservation Institute, the GCI, as their key staff member leading the Los Angeles African American Historic Places project. And I know we've discussed this with you before. This is an ambitious effort to help identify, protect, and celebrate African American history and historic resources across the city of Los Angeles. And this is a collaborative effort between the Getty and the city, really building upon our work on Survey LA, our citywide sort of resource survey project, as well as the citywide African American history context that was released by the OHR in 2018 as a further extension of Survey LA. So Rita will be based out of the Getty, working much of the time out of their Getty center offices. She's with us in our OHR office today. She will be working part-time with us, whether virtually or in person, and really be a key part of our OHR team, advancing much of this work. And as I say, she's not a stranger to most of you, because you probably recall Rita led the way and researched and presented the very compelling historic cultural monument nomination for Watts Happening Cultural Center, also known as the Mafundi building in Watts, and has been leading those community advocacy efforts in the Watts community. So she also, you may not know, has a deep historic preservation background as well through the USC Heritage Conservation Program, and she's a board member currently of the California Preservation Foundation. So I just wanted to reintroduce Rita to you and give her a moment to say hello. And we will, obviously it's very early. We want to give her time to settle in, and we're not at a point where all of the plans for this initiative are underway, but at least have you reacquainted with Rita and get a chance to hear her very brief business one. So Rita.
Thank you, Ken. Can you guys hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Thank you, Ken, and hello again, commissioners and staff. I am super excited to be just involved in this project. I think it's going to be wonderful for the community, wonderful for Los Angeles, and it's going to set a precedent for how we interact with communities all across the world in terms of their cultural heritage and what they deem as significant and important to them. So thank you for the introduction, and I look forward to seeing you guys again and working with the OHR staff. Thanks.
Rita, welcome aboard. We look forward to some exciting work from you in the project.
Welcome, Rita. And I just wanted to make a note that Rita has an undergraduate degree in architecture from Howard University and a master's degree in heritage conservation. So she's very well qualified. We're so happy she's here.
Ken, is that
That
your report?
concludes my report. Thank you,
Okay,
Commissioner.
all right. Any old business? Seeing none, new business. You know, several 2 months ago, we discussed the downtown LA plan update, and a subcommittee of Commissioner Barron and myself were formed to consolidate our review comments from the presentation that the planning staff did, and write a letter to the planning department, the city council, with some recommendations of maybe some revisions that could be made, or some improvements we thought would be appropriate. Have the commissioners had a chance to read that letter? The rest of the commission?
This is Commissioner Kennedy. Do you want to give us the general idea so that this could go on the record with the public?
Well, it's in the agenda packet. So basically, we wanted to do 3 or 4 specific things. We wanted to include the use of transfer development rights in Tokyo to utilize similar historic preservation incentives provided for Chinatown and Downtown Industrial Historic District, also known as the Arts District. We thought Tokyo might not be out. We wanted to safeguard protections within the plan, such as height limitations in Chinatown and Old Tokyo, which are intended to minimize potential displacement of legacy businesses, because legacy businesses are an important element in both those communities and throughout the city. And at some point,
Commissioner Malosky, President Malosky, can I ask you for a minute? There's a lot of static in the background. It sounds like maybe your papers are hitting against your microphone. Can you check that, maybe?
Should I repeat what I just went through, Gail, or? Okay.
No, I think we heard it. It's just,
Okay.
It was just a little distracting.
So my microphone's here and the paper's there, but okay. We wanted to apply the demolition findings required in Chapter 5 of the CPIO, Section 1B, for projects within sub-area D to include not only contributing to historic resources, National Register listed historic districts, but also California Register listed historic districts and historic cultural monuments. Thank you for sharing screen. And to expand sub-area D is primarily the Broadway Historic District downtown. And those are the 4 primary recommendations that we made in terms of some updates, some revisions that might be made to the downtown community plan. We also decided that it was probably best to be very to the point with the letter. And if council members have any questions, staff is available to answer them, or Commissioner Barron and I could answer any questions they might have. Does that adequately represent what the commissioners remember from the presentation that Craig Weber did in our comments?
Barry, do we expect to get any response from Plum? Or will this just be something filed and received and filed? Can't have any answers.
I defer that to Ken.
Well, the council can, has complete discretion to make amendments and to take into account any input it receives, whether from a city commission or members of the public. But I do think that obviously, these are thoughtful and focused comments that have a contribution to make in the process. We do expect that it may be still some months before the Plum Committee and Council to take up the downtown community plan. There was some additional directives given by the City Planning Commission, which the downtown staff is still responding to. So this will be transmitted when the rest of the council file heads to Plum Committee and Council. But we wanted to bring this back and have the commission complete its work on the subcommittee and finalize its recommendations for whenever that is ready and gets taken up by council.
Alrighty.
Other commissioners have any comment?
I think you did a very good job. Thank you, Commissioner Ken.
Thank you. I ask the city attorney, do we open this for public comment now, or do you open public comment for the entire item number 2 at one time?
If you're inclined to make a motion during this segment under agenda item number 2, then I would take public comment now.
Okay, let's take public comment on the downtown Los Angeles community plan update comments.
Yes, Diego Vasquez, City Planning. Simple instructions to address the commission. If you dialed in telephonically and would like to give public comment, please press star 9 and star 6 to unmute. We have one caller. First caller, Adrian Scott Klein. You have been unmuted.
Good morning, Commissioners. Adrian Scott Klein with the Los Angeles Conservancy. First of all, thank you so much for your review and looking at the downtown Los Angeles community plan. We've been very involved with this as it's been going on for many years, and there are a lot of good things in it for preservation, and we wholeheartedly concur with the recommendations that you're including here. We would just suggest that there needs to be one amendment, or offer this up under recommendation number 2, where you're talking about adding height limitations for Chinatown and Little Tokyo, to please extend those to the Spring Street and the Broadway historic districts within the historic core. We're very concerned about as development, and this is a very long-term plan, goes into the future, that without additional safeguards, those 2 critical historic districts will be at risk without the height limitation protection in the future. Thank you.
Interesting comment. Commissioners.
Excuse me, this is Commissioner Cantor. Would this affect the Los Angeles Times site? Former Los Angeles Times site, Adrian?
I think that's already been through planning commission.
Oh, I see. It has.
I believe so, Ken.
This is Adrian. If you may speak.
Sure, go ahead, Adrian.
Commissioner Cantor, it would not. That's not included within. I don't believe so. I don't think it's included within the National Register districts.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And wouldn't the National Register District protection also protect the heights within the context? Lambert, Ken?
Well, there would be review for compatibility. Any new project would be reviewed for compatibility with those National Register districts, but there's not a quantitative height limit associated with those. I would point out, I think the way number 2 is crafted in this letter, that is referencing existing protections in the plan that were described when we had our presentation from Craig Weber. And saying safeguard those protections. I think there was some concern that because there were some community stakeholders that were opposed to those potentially, that those might get eliminated or reduced as this goes on to council. So this is referencing safeguarding existing protections within the proposed plan. There is not currently a height limit proposed for historic cores. So those would be additional protections, and the commission wanted to recommend those.
Richard, any thoughts?
I like what Adrian is proposing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how the rest of the commission feels about it, but I think it's probably in the long run a good idea.
Yeah, I guess my only question is whether compatibility, in fact, would protect, the context of the existing districts. With a new high-rise inserted within them, I would find to be incompatible. On the other hand, there is that new residential building hotel at 4th and Broadway, or 4th and Spring, which may be what's raising the Conservancy's concern.
Well, but also suspenders,
Right. Any motion on this? Should we take this back under consideration and discuss within the committee, the subcommittee?
Yeah, I think that's what we should do, Barry.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Or do I need a motion?
Well, we're not going forward, right? We're going to go back to committee.
Okay.
I think that's appropriate, Commissioners. That is something that requires some kind of substantive consideration. And again, I don't think there's a rush to transmit this to Plum immediately, since we have a little bit of time before the committee takes it up.
Okay, well, let's send this back to committee, and if staff can arrange a committee meeting, I guess bring in Craig Woodberg and the planning staff.
Sure.
To discuss it with us. All right. Next item of new business is the commission initiation of the proposed monument designation for the Women's Christian Temperance Union located at 551 South Kingsley Drive. Commissioner Kennard brought this up. If she'd like to make some comments on why she thinks it's important that we initiate this.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think it's an important structure, not only for the architecture, which is surprisingly intact. I have not been inside the building, but from the exterior, it's a surprisingly intact building. And also, of course, the history with the Women's Christian Temperance Union, which is part of the historic context statement that OHR prepared on women's rights issues. It was cited in that public. I think it's important for us to move forward with a designation.
I agree. Let's open the Women's Christian Temperance Union for public comment. See if there's anyone who'd like to comment on that.
Yes, Diego Vasquez, City Planning. Simple instructions to address the commission. If you dialed in telephonically and would like to give public comment, please press *9 and star 6 to unmute. We have one caller. First caller, Richard Shave. You have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Commissioners, Commission, good morning. Richard Shave here, private citizen. This is a great building. This is just, I'm so happy to hear this. Women's Christian Temperance as a movement, as part of one of the three great reform movements in 19th century America, which is, of course, the seedbed for 20th century civil rights movements. This is great stuff. It's a great building. Take care, and we can all sing the Women's Christian Temperance song about breaking up whiskey kegs when this finally gets landmarked. So I look forward to that. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Commissioner Malowski, we do not have any more hands raised for this.
Okay, let's close public comment. Commissioners have any comment, or do I have a motion? Commissioner Kenner.
Yes, I wondered, Gail, I recall when we discussed this at a previous meeting that you mentioned the date of 1951, that's when the organization was occupying the building. Is that correct?
That's correct. The building predates that. I think the building goes to the 19-teens or something like that when it was constructed. Lambert, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but then this is the third headquarters for the group. They moved there in 1951.
Okay, very good. My only mercy.
The previous headquarters have been demolished.
Okay. Yeah, the WCTU brought around about amongst another organization brought around prohibition, and that obviously was in the 1920s, and so I wish we had something that related more to that time period.
Yeah, well, the fact that they were still going strong in 1951, and as far as I know, the owners of that building, their history, the trajectory covers past the prohibition issue. And so they were also active in suffrage and other women's issues into the 1950s and 60s.
They're not there any longer?
They still own the building. It looks like it's frozen in time. We'd have to do some research. I'm hoping that we'll get that information as part of the nomination.
The building was built in 1911.
Okay, do we have a motion to take this under consideration?
Sure. We initiate a nomination for the Women's Christian Temperance Union.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. It's 151 South Kingsley Drive.
Yes.
Okay, Alex.
Thank you.
Allison Watt for the record. Commission Vice President Kennard.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenner.
Yes.
Commissioner Barron.
Yes.
Commissioner Bona.
Yes.
And Commission President Malofsky.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Good. All right. Have all the commissioners had a chance to look at the advanced calendar and see if we'll be on the grid in the foreseeable future?
So I will be in Australia the first week of April. I believe I can video in. Would that be okay?
We're all videoing in, so that's perfect. The question part is, you want the video in at what, 3 in the morning, or is it?
You know what? I don't know. I'll see.
Okay.
So it's just a heads up.
Okay. Thank you, and have a good flight.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Any commission announcements or requests that we have today? All right. I guess technically I need to open public comment on the director's report.
Yes, the Diego Vasquez City Planning, for Director's Report and Commission Business. You have 1 minute to address the commission. Simple instructions to address the commission. If you dialed in telephonically and would like to give public comment, please press *9 and *6 to unmute. At this time, Commissioner Malofsky, we do not have any hands raised for this item.
Okay, let's close public comment and move on to item number 3, Neighborhood Council position statements on agenda items. I believe we had one.
Yes, Diego Vasquez City Planning, item number 3 for neighborhood council presentations or any community impact statement filled out with the city clerk, which relates to any agenda items listed on this agenda. Only certified neighborhood council could speak on this item. We have one caller, Diane Nav. Please unmute.
Good morning. My name is Diana Nave, and I chair the Planning and Land Use Committee for the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council. And I am here to speak on behalf of approval of the application for cultural monument status for Walker's Cafe in San Pedro, a legacy business in our community. Our council strongly supports this application. Walker's is a community treasure, and many of our members have a lot of memories centered around it. Not only do we consider it an iconic part of the park across the street, but it has also been part of a lot of movies, perhaps the most famous of which is Chinatown. It's our desire to see Walker's reopened as a restaurant to continue to serve the community. As the oldest operating cafe in San Pedro, it's an important link to our past, going back to the heyday of the red car. As you were speaking about the downtown community plan, I was reminded that when we worked on our San Pedro community plan, we had a very specific discussion with planning staff about existing small businesses, such as this one, that were zoned for housing. The result of that discussion was that the planning department was going to rezone all of those little businesses as commercial. Somehow that was not done for this site. This might not be an issue now. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. I see several other hands are raised. I want to point out that this item is only for neighborhood council official position statements, which have been filed with the city clerk. We will be discussing Walker Cafe as item number 6 on the agenda.
Commissioner Malofsky, how much time should I give neighborhood councils?
If it's neighborhood council, you give them 2 minutes.
2 minutes, perfect. Sounds good.
But again, I want to point out that this is for neighborhood council filed position statements. Walker Cafe is item number 6 on the agenda. So.
Perfect, sounds good. We're gonna take the next caller. Douglas, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Hi, I'm president of the Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Council. I'm not going to take a lot of time to reiterate our position, which you heard at your previous meeting on this item. But just to say that our neighborhood council passed a unanimous resolution in support of this designation. I am not sure if the other hands that you have are folks from our neighborhood council, but I would suggest to them that I've iterated our official position and they may want to wait until item 6 to save some time for you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more hand raised. Anaya, you have been unmuted. Please unmute. Nia?
Good morning, commissioners, and thank you for this opportunity to talk about the importance of Saving Walker's Cafe. My name is Anya Sapivi, and I am on the board of Central San Pedro's Neighborhood Council, which I'm speaking on behalf of this morning. At our February board meeting, the Central San Pedro Neighborhood Council passed a motion to support historic cultural monument status for Walker's Cafe. A letter to that effect was sent out February 28th. Walker's has been serving our community for almost 80 years, with its origins going back for more than a century. Walker's played a formative role in the early development of San Pedro and is one of the oldest restaurants in Los Angeles. Generations of San Pedrons have come to Walker's for everything from weddings to funerals, and is a microcosm of our community, where everyone from longshoremen to fishermen to service members and much, much more all came together, that people of all ages remember visiting as children. It's a special time capsule, as said before, featured in countless iconic period movies such as Chinatown and Inherent Vice, as a living link to LA's history. Above all, it's a touchstone for people wishing to connect with San Pedro's past and a vital part of the cultural, economic, and social history of the city and community. Even the late Bessie Mae Peterson, founder of Walker's, is remembered to this day for her unfailing generosity to people in need and for creating a welcoming place for our community to gather that has stood the test of time. I grew up in Venice. I moved to San Pedro 6 years ago because I watched one of the most unique, diverse places I had ever been affiliated with become a whitewashed, overcrowded, plain and uninteresting town. Any historic eatery is gone. All the weird little shops taken over, only to be termed Silicon Beach, with rents unaffordable for artists and locals to keep a piece of a place we loved. The heart of Venice is dead, and we're at risk of the same thing happening in San Pedro. If we don't save our history, if we don't fight to keep these places alive, then we lose what makes our community special. We need to care more. We need to use our voices and show that money does not matter more than history, more than love for a community, or more than the people who are trying to save it. We urge you to protect the San Pedro landmark for future generations by supporting the nomination for this extraordinary place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Malosky, you can close public comment.
Okay, let's close public comment on neighborhood council position statements. Item number 3. Moving on to general public comment. So let's open general public comment. These are for items not on the agenda.
Yes, Diego Vasquez, City Planning for general public comment. These are items not on the agenda. We have a few callers. First caller, Richard Shea, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Oh, hello, commissioners. Again, I'm not going to sing a song this time. Sorry. Richard Shave here, private citizen. Just a heads up. Last commission hearing, there was an update on the Cornelius Johnson Oak at 12th and Hobart, and I'm happy to say, while I guess some would argue that blog posts from Esoteric are not canonical documents, and I would accept that, but I think it's pretty darn good. We just put up a blog post on everything we could find, with some nice twists on the Cornelius Johnson Oak at 12th and Hobart. So if you want to just go over to the Esoteric blog, it's right there. I don't have a chat, so I can't paste it into the chat here. But we are looking forward to working with whichever office wants to work with us. And I say that as someone who's currently working with private arborists and county arborists down in Rancho Los Amigos about tree preservation. So we have a good network of arborists who care a lot. So if someone wants to reach out to me and we can do a site visit and get some ideas, that would be great. And again, I understand this is private property. It's not city-owned property, and these are delicate issues, but I think let's make this happen. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. Next caller, last caller, Brian Kern, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Yes, hello, commissioners. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And I also wanted to wish congratulations to Melissa Jones for her expanded family. I am here today to comment with regards to 560 and 564 Virgil Avenue, the Ozawa Boarding House and Obayashi Employment Agency properties, which the commission approved for HCM status back in October. It appears that demolition work and construction on all 3 buildings on the site is exceeding what what the building permits issued allow and what was agreed to in meetings with the OHR. Most significantly, wholesale window removal and replacement without OHR approval. We fear is that the property's designation has not gone before council and that the time for such an action has already been exceeded, that the current demolition and construction of the site will have adverse effects on the character defining features of the building and prevent its HCM status from going into effect. We have been working with Lambert and the housing department to remedy the situation. We've had stop work orders issued, but as of yesterday, we had reports that work can still continue. Might there be some way that the commission can have OHR work with the building department to go down there and actually see what work is going on so that we can assure that it finally gets the status it deserves?
Time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Malofsky, you could close public comment. No more hands raised.
Let's close public comment. Lambert, do you have any response to Brian Curran's, especially the time frame?
I have. I mean, we thank Brian and Hollywood Heritage for getting involved. They also helped kind of reinforce to the building department and the housing department the need for code enforcement, along with ourselves. So at this point, yes, code enforcement has been issued. We're kind of waiting for the owner to respond. We could certainly go to the site. I don't know what the status of any work is. The owner did reach out about proposed plans for the window rehabilitation on 560. I provided him some comments, but the difficulty seems to be that work is kind of taking place out of sequence with review and approval. So, yeah, to the extent that we can encourage the owner to come into compliance, we'll certainly do that.
Is there any way we can incentivize the owner to come into compliance beyond the stop work order?
I don't know what that would be beyond following the rules as they've been established by the city.
Okay.
I'm not sure what else we would do.
Okay. Public comment is closed. On public comments, let's move on to item number 5, the AC Tobias residence.
Yes, good morning again, commissioners. The item for final determination is the AC Tobias residence located at 2915 South Budlong Avenue in Los Angeles. The staff recommendation is that the commission declare the property an historic monument and adopt the finding that the AC Tobias residence embodies the distinctive characteristics of a style, type, period, or method of construction as an excellent and intact example of a craftsman bungalow in South Los Angeles. And Anne-Marie Brooks is here to recap the nomination.
Anne-Marie, how much time do you need? Anne-Marie, you're muted. Are you sure she's here?
Yes, she is here. She could unmute. She's been promoted and she has access to the share screen capabilities. Commissioner Malofsky.
Thank you, Diego.
And President Malofsky, I also see the owners are in the audience. So there, I think Anne-Marie was able to unmute.
I was.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so we'll hear from the owners after Anne-Marie's presentation. Okay, thank you.
Okay, hang on. Can you see the presentation?
No.
What to do?
Melissa can run the presentation if you want to.
Okay.
Will that be helpful, Anne?
Yes, please.
Okay, give me 1 second to load it, and then you'll just have to let me know when to advance.
Right.
it is loaded up, and whenever you're ready.
Okay. The A.C. Tobias residence at 2915 South Budlong Avenue in South Los Angeles was designed by Neil Barker and J. Webster, operating as Barker and Webster, in the rustic craftsman style in 1908. Next, please. Barker and Webster, designers or architects, we could never figure out which officially, were British subjects who never elected to gain United States citizenship. Barker and Webster worked in the firm of M. Paul Martin Webster, leaving early to establish a booth and design firm next door to Martin. When Webster returned from his travels to Mexico and surrounding countries, he and Barker formed a short-term partnership, working from their downtown Los Angeles office. Next, please. This is the subject property. It is the center one of 3 lots that were purchased by A.C. Tobias on the west side of the street. This is the one to the south, and this is the one to the north, which were built as income properties. Next. And the third known bungalow by Barker and Webster is in Silver Lake and has been somewhat altered. Next. Back to Budlong. This has a fabulous porch from the east and from the south. The whole house has a canted form. Next, please. This is the rear of the residence. This is the garage. This is the orange tree from which our hosts serve fresh pressed orange juice for the visit. And this is the garage and the L-shaped workshop. Next, please. This is the south elevation chimney, the extended eaves and brackets. This is the cellar rehabilitation in progress. And this is the north and west elevations. Next. This is the Webster window. It's a 3/2. He used it in almost every building that he designed, and also had theme and variations, and also did it in art glass. Next, please. This is the interior. You can enter from the south French doors, from the east porch to the ingle nook, and then you go to the living room. Next, please. And this shows the openness of the plan, although it has great detail, including the copper floral light fixtures on the ceiling intersections of the beams. Next, please. And this is the dining room. It has a spectacular break front. All of the items in this house are really the kind that would be in a larger house, but they're compacted into this little gem. There's a built-in bench. There's many built-in cabinets all around. Next, please. And this is the bathroom with all of its built-in. This is the entry to his office. Originally, it has a diagonal door and a gentleman caller's bench and a place to hang your clothes. And this would have been the office that's been repurposed as their main bedroom. And if you go out through this door, you end up in the hallway. Next, please. And looking across the hallway, you see the linen closet. And if you go this direction west, you'll end up in the kitchen. There are 2 other bedrooms. Here's the back porch, and here's the pantry. Next, please. And here is a rehab of the features. Canted form, a large irregular porch with 2 means of access to the residence for indoor and outdoor flow. Stacked opposing directional beams with brackets, rustic shingles, Webster windows, in-house office, ingle nook with paired French door entry, segueing into the living room, which segues into the dining room, hammered, often curled copper hardware throughout the public rooms, built-in cabinetry in all of the main rooms, plus the bathroom and kitchen, original flower form copper ceiling fixtures, hardwood floors in the public rooms, and softwood floors in the private rooms. Next, please. Yes. Eucalyptus cider Exelon is on the parkway. In front of this house is this one. To the south are two, and to the north were two, but they were taken away several years ago, sadly. Next, please. A.C. Archibald Clark Tobias was a bookkeeper who turned a real estate investment broker when he came to Los Angeles from New York with a stop off in Iowa. He formed a real estate investment brokerage. He sold property from Bishop to Lone Pine in the Owens River Valley when the city representatives were secretly acquiring large swaths of land. And he also started apple orchards, buying incentives in the water-rich land. He sold all the way to Calexico, where he and others founded a bank, and onward to the U.S.-Mexico border. He sold a farming tract of lemon orchards in a beach adjacent to the now high-end properties to the south of Los Angeles. In short, he sold over a far broader area than most real estate brokers of his time. He moved from Budlong to yet grander properties, including a ranch at Calexico, and acted as a gentleman farmer near San Bernardino while retaining the Budlong bungalows as investment properties. Next. Neil Dow Barker, designer or architect, came to the Western Hemisphere from England, first landing in Canada, where he practiced architecture and engineering. He returned to England several times. He came to Los Angeles, then San Francisco with his wife, and then returned to LA when his wife passed. He joined the M. Paul Martin firm where Webster was working. He was 10 years older than Webster, except when he partnered with Webster, he returned often to the Martin firm. Thus, as an associate in that firm, it is impossible to judge his solo work. Barker designed his own residence at Pasadena, which appeared in the design section of the Los Angeles Times, which you can only get from the University of Ohio. So inclusion in that section said it was pretty special. Next, please. George J. Webster, architect. He was born in Uruguay, where his father was the manager of a large ranch. His mother took him and his siblings back to their native Scotland, where he got his education. But with a common name like George Webster, I could find no distinct educational proof. He took a year off to live at Sonora, Mexico, and traveled to adjacent countries. And while he was there, an earthquake occurred, and he became a stringer reporter photographer for the Los Angeles Times and the Associated Press. Next, please. His work was published in several national magazines, including the Ladies' Home Journal. Next, please. House Beautiful. Next, please. And he was also published in the book Bungalows, Camps, and Mountain Houses, republished by the AIA, where he was listed as an architect, as he was in all publications. Next, please. This is one of his works at Pasadena. It's the Colonel Griffith residence, and it was completed in 1910. It's a grand building with lovely landscaping. Next, please. This is two early works of his in Altadena, both built in 1905, both bungalows. Next, please. And this is also Pasadena, or Altadena, Webster at his grandeur. The bottom left photo is said to be his most expensive commission, Rosewall, and that's a photo of its present day existence. It's a fabulous building. And then he also did the stone entrance with a bench at the corner of Hollister and Palm. That's a private development. He also did houses in it, but you can't get in it to photograph them. I tried. Next. And he also purchased a tract which spanned Altadena, Pasadena in 1910. And he developed it over the years with craftsman homes, which he and his wife would live in and then sell off and go on to the next one. And the final home, which is pictured here, was developed by Webster in 1913. And many of these homes are still extant today. He also developed, which I don't have a photo of, their retirement home along the Pacific Ocean. It was a block above it, not a corner. So I suspect he may have done other houses there, but because of the pandemic, I called Laguna and couldn't get anything. Next, please. Please declare the AC Tobias residence and HCM, sorry about the background noise, based on the following criteria. Criterion 1, Tobias, Webster, and Barker should be recognized for their cultural and economic contributions to the city of LA and surrounding communities. Tobias should also be recognized for the extensive scope of the sales and agricultural incentives. Criterion 3, architecturally, the AC Tobias residence is a fine example of rustic craftsman bungalow with a detached garage. It represents the work of Barker and Webster, but they practiced too short a time to gain recognition as partners. However, Webster should be recognized as a master designer based on the overall body of work in the craftsman idiom in Los Angeles, Pasadena, Altadena, and Laguna Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Do you commissioners have any questions for Anne Marie before we hear from the owner?
No, this is Commissioner Cantor. I think that was an exhaustively elaborate presentation there. It was wonderful. Thanks.
Is the owner like to make a couple of comments?
Hi, everyone. I just want to quickly say thank you to the commission for considering the AC Tobias residence and all the commissioners who came out to tour the place. And a big thank you to Anna Marie for all of the research and presentations. It's been a really thrill to learn about the history of this house. So thank you, everyone.
Great, thank you. All right, let's open item number 5 for public comment.
Yes.
Diego?
Yes, Diego Vasquez, City Planning, for item number 5. Proposed monument AC Tobias Harris. Simple instructions for public comment. If you dialed in telephonically and would like to give public comment, please press star 9 and star 6 to unmute. Looking for callers. No hands raised, Commissioner Milosky.
All right, let's close public comment. I think the level of preservation, restoration work done in this house is really remarkable. I really appreciate the owners of, taking on the task. I don't know what condition it was when they got it, but they've obviously preserved it, and I think it definitely deserves definition and recognition as a city monument. Other commissioners.
Hi, Richard Barron. I think Diane and I did the site visit on this, and it's a lovely house, and it's very well preserved, and it's just a delightful place. So I'm very, very supportive of having this be a monument.
How was the orange juice?
Orange juice was good.
Commissioner Cantor?
Yes, there's so many influences in this house. We will say a craftsman bungalow, but there's so many other iterations, like the Riot influence, Japanese influence. It's just it's museum quality, if you ask me. I think it was fantastic.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Okay, this is Commissioner Cantor. I will move to recognize the AC Tobias residence located at 2915 to 2919 amendment and adopt the staff findings.
Richard Barron, I'll second.
Allison, for the record. Commissioner Canner,
Yes.
Commissioner Barron,
Yes.
Commissioner Belna,
Yes.
Commission Vice President Kennard,
Yes.
and Commission President Malofsky.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Good, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 6, Walker's Cafe.
Yes, Commissioners, this is the final determination for Walker's Cafe located at 700 Paseo del Mar in San Pedro. The staff recommendation is that the Commission declare the property an historic monument and adopt the staff report finding that Walker's Cafe exemplifies significant contributions to the broad economic, social, and cultural history of the community as the home of the longstanding restaurant that played an important part in the social life of San Pedro. And with that, I believe we have Emma Brault here to recap the nomination.
How much time do you need?
10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, you got 10 minutes.
Sounds good, perfect.
And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Give me just 1 second to figure this out. Hi, good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everyone else in attendance. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Emma Brault. I'm a community advocate seeking historic cultural monument designation for Walker's Cafe. I'm not a formal in the Netherlands. I've moved around a lot. I lived all over Europe. Los Angeles, San Pedro in particular, became my home. As a result of these experiences, I became very sensitive to the spirit of place, the impact of the built environment. As I will go on to demonstrate, I believe Walker's Cafe encapsulates a lot of what is unique, special about Los Angeles and San Pedro. This is the subject property, which is a relatively modest example of a vernacular restaurant, but it has played a very important role in the community over more than a century. I just wanted to take a moment and put the cafe in the context of the extraordinary location it's in. It sits at the southernmost tip of Los Angeles. The cafe looks out onto the ocean and Catalina Island. To the east, it's a block away from the area known as Sunken City, the remains of a 1929 natural landslide. The cafe is directly across from Point Fermin Park, which has been a public park since the 1920s, with the Point Fermin Lighthouse, which was designated a historic cultural monument in December 2021. Directly to the west, you have the Korean Friendship Bell and part of the Upper Reservation, Fort MacArthur. The lighthouse and the Upper Reservation together form the Point Fermin National Historic District. So Walker's Cafe sits at the heart of this amazing public space that brings together a lot of history. Walker's Cafe meets the criteria to become a historic cultural monument in the city of Los Angeles because it is associated with the social, cultural, and commercial history of both San Pedro and Los Angeles as a whole. Walker's Cafe was also identified in Survey LA in 2012 as an example of early commercial development. Walker's Cafe was founded in 1946 by Raymond J. and Bessie Mae Walker. Raymond Walker was a chief signalman in the Navy. During the Second World War, he was posted at the Harbor Entrance Command Post at Fort MacArthur. The Harbor Entrance Command Post was located at the Upper Reservation and its tower now gone in what is now Angels Gate Park. It was used to clear ships for entering the harbor. Bessie Mae Logan was a migrant from Oklahoma. She came to San Pedro in 1933, where by her own account, she waited tables all over town, including on the old Beacon Street, which was demolished in the 1970s. After Raymond Walker died in a car accident in 1950s, helped by her mother Lena and her sister Christine, you can see over here on the left. Bessie developed a reputation for never letting anyone go hungry, even if they didn't have the money to pay their bill. The murals inside Walker's were done by a merchant marine who Bessie found sleeping in a park and gave shelter to for months to help him get back on his feet. And you can see the murals on the beams over here and in the background. That's proof here. When he died in 1996, her obituary described her as the most loved woman in San Pedro. Walker's has been an important community gathering place in San Pedro for nearly 80 years. The cafe's clientele is a microcosm of San Pedro, reflecting its identity as a port and military town. Not only was the cafe founded by a retired Navy veteran, Walker's soon became popular with military, fishermen, and merchant marines. Many San Pedrans have come there over generations, bringing their children and grandchildren. It's also historically been a popular pit stop for bikers on their coastal cruises. In this way, it is tied up with the rise of motorcycle culture in Southern California following World War II. Deeper research has revealed additional layers of context and significance. The story of the property actually begins around 1916 when local jitney driver Felician Landier opened a grocery store and soda fountain there. In this 1926 aerial, you can see the grocery store building with the stepped parapet and the awning in the front. The next photograph provides a better view of the facade of the grocery store with the Pacific Electric trolley going by. Now in this next aerial photograph from 1929, you can see that they added onto that original facade, extending it out to the sidewalk, so that effectively the old facade was engulfed by this new construction. 6 years later, in 1935, they hired local contractor George G. Aikenhead to construct a cafe building. This building has a much smaller footprint than the grocery store. The reason for this is unclear, but it could be related to structural damage resulting from the landslide in the Sunken City area in 1929, or the 6.4 magnitude Long Beach earthquake of 1933. Now, when you compare this photo of the original facade to these photos of the interior of the current building, you can see that the same arch that used to be on the exterior of the grocery store is now above the bar of the cafe. So some of the original fabric dates back all the way to 1916. Felician Landier went on to play an important role in local transportation history. He established the San Pedro Motor Bus Company, in direct competition with the Pacific Electric, and eventually forced it to abandon its local streetcar lines in San Pedro. Through its association with Felician Landier, the property narrates the story of the battle between automobiles and streetcars in Los Angeles over the first half of the 20th century. The Landiers expanded their transportation business to other areas, including Watts, Gardena, and Torrance, and the family business remained in operation until the early 70s. Over the years, the cafe's authentic period features have made it a popular filming location. Its track record includes some of the most iconic silver screen portrayals of Los Angeles. Here we have Chinatown, Inherent Vice, Gods and Monsters, and the HBO Perry Mason prequel. The cafe's use in these movies speaks to its ability to convey LA's history as an iconic example of a 1930s, 1940s vernacular restaurant. And this is Walker just last month when it was transformed into Mulray's Hamburger Shack for the HBO show Visible. Walker's Cafe has also been captured by a lot of artists, further cementing its iconic role in public consciousness. Here's a selection of some of the artwork featuring the cafe. It has also been featured in novels, travel guides, motorcycle catalogs, and a blues song. Walker's Cafe retains a high level of integrity with all of its character-defining features intact. And here we can see some of the character-defining features on the exterior. We have the double wooden glass outswing entry doors, the stucco cladding, the stucco parapet with a flat-rolled composition roof and Spanish clay tile detailing, the picture window added in 1954, 2x3 pane windows, as well as the building-mounted horizontal neon blade sign. And here we can see some of the character-defining features on the inside. You can get a good view of the arch above the bar here. We have the original bar and chromium jewel, as well as the two-door icebox that Bessie bought when they first opened. The hand-painted menu board, linoleum or vinyl asbestos tile flooring, wooden wainscoting, and here you can see the murals again, as well as the custom cabinetry with the porcelain figurines that Bessie collected. In summary, Walker's Cafe is significant as an example of early commercial development in San Pedro. It is the longest continually operating cafe in San Pedro. It's associated with overlapping transportation histories of Los Angeles, and it's a Los Angeles icon featured in classic movies, including Chinatown. But above all, it is important as a much-beloved institution, central to the identity and social fabric of San Pedro over 80 years. And here is some of the media attention that the landmarking campaign has gotten from local news outlets. This larger than life picture of my face is a little embarrassing, but it's obviously really good for walkers. Here you can see this is the Daily Breeze. This is Random Lengths News in San Pedro today. When the cafe closed in late October of last year, people were really worried and sad, and a lot of people assumed that it was closed and that it wasn't coming back. But there has been so much interest and enthusiasm in the community, and there's a real sense of hope and possibility now. Your decision to consider walkers for landmark status at the last hearing in January really meant a lot to the community. The desired outcome of landmarking would be to see this iconic place protected and pave the way for continuity of use. A number of stakeholders have already expressed serious interest in stepping in to take over the business. We have seen a lot of iconic places in LA disappear related to the pandemic. We can't afford to lose another historic establishment. Commissioners, the fate of walkers is an increasingly urgent matter. As a result of its closure, the property and surrounding park have become a target of vandalism, and we are truly in danger of losing one of San Pedro's most important resources. Therefore, we ask that you recommend this property for historic cultural monument designation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Emma. Commissioners have any questions for Emma before we open public comment? All right.
Mary, I'd just like to compliment her on her presentation. You know, she says she's doesn't have a background in preservation, but man, you've got it together. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I second that. Okay, let's open public comment on item number 6, Walker's Cafe.
Yes. Diego Vasquez, City Planning, for item number 6, simple instructions for public comment. If you dialed in telephonically and would like to give public comment, please press star 9 and star 6 to unmute. We have a few callers. First caller, Lori Baltoon, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Lori Bolton. I'm a location scout. Emma, thank you for that incredibly thorough presentation. It was great. And thank you to all of the commissioners for your work on behalf of our city. Regarding the iconic Walker Cafe, on behalf of over 100 Los Angeles-based location professionals, we strongly support HCM status. Period locations are more difficult to find every day in Los Angeles. Preservation is critical for maintaining our collective culture. Film and television production not only mirror and shapes our culture, but contributes to the local economy, as does the Walker Cafe. For years, not only with filming fees, but in what has become known as film tourism, one of the main engines of the economy of Los Angeles. So for a variety of reasons, the Walker Cafe is, as Emma said, so critical to our culture. And on behalf of the film industry, I would love to put our voice out there to ask you guys to help preserve it. Thanks so much for your work.
Thank you. Next caller. Terry Austin, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
The fact that Walker's Cafe is already on Survey LA and that the highly credentialed staff at the CHC have reviewed this application and found it meets the criteria for an HCM, I hope that'll encourage the commission to further this nomination. There's so little left in San Pedro that reflects the social and economic life of the merchant marine, the longshoremen, stevedores, fishermen, and military families that created the unique culture of this port city. These people are the history of San Pedro, not the famous or infamous, but the regular Joes and Josephinas whose lives are rarely celebrated or commemorated. I hope this commission will want to preserve this special cultural meeting spot so dear to generations of residents and visitors for generations of residents and visitors yet to come. Thank you very much, and I hope you vote for the HCM. And congratulations, Melissa.
Thank you. Next caller. Caller Richard Shave, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Hello, commissioners. I just wanted to call in support of this nomination. It's a truly phenomenal place. Emma's done just a wonderful job, and this is a great path to get Walker's Cafe on, to bring it back and keep it what it is, which is an icon and a great example of effective ownership by the community of a legacy business. So thanks so much, and I look forward to the motion and the vote.
Thank you. Next caller, Melanie Jones, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Yes, hi. I've been a resident of Point Fermin for 40 years now, and I've had many memorable meals at Walker's Cafe. And I just want to say, in terms of what one of the previous speakers said, that this is a rich part of San Pedro history. I know people. I had an elderly friend, for example, who died in her 90s about 70 years ago, who always called Walker's Bessies, because that was what people of her generation called it, because of Bessie. And it's really an important and very unique gathering place. And I don't think there's anything like it at the other parks. And I don't know about its historical meaningfulness, but as a community center, it is meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, Mona Dallas Reddick, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Mona Dallas Reddick, and I am serving my 6th year as president of the San Pedro Bay Historical Society. Our organization was incorporated as a nonprofit in 1975. When people discover San Pedro, the town, the things they remark on are the geographical setting, the neighborhoods, and downtown that retain some of the older housing or commercial stock from many decades past. Also, the town's ethnic and social diversity. These things or qualities are embodied in Walker's Cafe and have made it a place of cultural importance for several generations, as everyone is attesting. To see it erased forever would be a cultural loss to the community and a loss to those who visit Point Fermin Park. The San Pedro Bay Historical Society Board urges that Walker's Cafe receive a historic cultural monument designation so that the outer structure and hopefully the vintage interior can once again actively contribute to what we love about San Pedro. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, Keith Nakata, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Morning, this is Keith Nakata. Today I'm speaking as a location scout with over 30 years in the film industry and in strong support of the Walker's Cafe designation for its role as an important location for the filmmaking community. Filmmakers and historic preservationists are leagued in that filming plays a role in bringing added revenue during a transitional period. For example, we heard about the Hoffman Candy Company, places like the Herald Examiner building designed by Julia Morgan, which recently reopened as a school, and even as far as like a place like the former Ferreira and Luckman designed Unical headquarters, now known as LA Center Studios. So please support the designation for Walkers today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next caller, Rosaline Sagara, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rosalind Sagara with the Los Angeles Conservancy, voicing support for item 6, the Historic Cultural Monument nomination for Walker's Cafe. Identified by Survey LA, memorialized in film, and beloved by generations of patrons, Walker's Cafe in San Pedro has contributed to the commercial, social, and cultural history of Los Angeles. Thanks to Emma Rolt for her research and preparation of this nomination, which contributes to our understanding, appreciation, and stewardship of commercial properties as important landmarks in Los Angeles. We urge the Commission to recommend designation for this rare and significant property. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, Linda Alexander, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Good morning, Commissioners. I thank you so much for taking this up. I'm Linda Alexander, and I'm a member of the Central Neighborhood Council Board and also involved with film liaison for the San Pedro Chamber of Commerce. And I grew up just outside of New York City, and when I visit now, I see pretty much the same thing there. We have buildings in the late 1600s that are still there. And living in California, where we call old 100 years, we desperately need to retain the history that we have, the little that's been left to us. So I appreciate this motion and I urge you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, Lorna Lucas, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to address you on this issue and express my strong support for the historic cultural monument application for Walker's Cafe. As I told you last time, I authored a master's thesis on this place in 1985, and I just wish to reiterate that this cafe and its community are absolutely worthy of preservation in San Pedro. The cafe is an iconic landmark that should be preserved because the cafe, Sunken City, the lighthouse, Point Fermin Park, all shown in Emma's video, are all part of the rich diversity of San Pedro. The cafe is nationally and globally known by motorcycle riders who made it a destination on long summer treks across the country, many of whom were veterans and rode for their mental health. For locals, it was a great place to have lunch or a beer on a hot summer afternoon. And I know I grew up in San Pedro and was often there with and without my family at different points in my life. Losing the cafe would be an enormous cultural loss to the city of a complex and colorful history. A cafe is needed at the site to serve the park and the lighthouse. So please support this application.
Next caller, Peter. Peter, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Hi, my name is Peter Adam, and I just want to add my name to the list of people who support landmarking Walker's Cafe. I was a longtime resident of San Pedro. Walker's was one of my places that I would frequent for a cold beer or a burger on a hot day. I would run into friends who were bikers on Sundays who would line up to have a burger from Bessie there. When I wrote my novel, New Day Yesterday, that's set in San Pedro in 1973, I made sure to include Walker's because it's such a special and historic place. And I just wanted to add that I thought Emma did a fine job presenting Walker's as it is. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next caller, caller 0558. You have been unmuted. Please unmute. You can unmute by pressing *6. Caller, you've been unmuted. Please proceed. Caller 0558, you have been unmuted.
I'm not sure if that's me.
That's you.
Okay. Good morning, commissioners. I'm Barbara McGahey, a neighbor. I live about a block away, and I just wanted to add my support for preserving Walkers. Thank you, Emma, for presenting the arguments so well, and thank you, commissioners, for considering the motion.
Thank you for your comment. Next caller. Silva, you have been unmuted. Please unmute.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Silva Harapetian. I represent Prospect Group, and we are local buyers who have been working with Emma, the property owners, and we look forward to working with the city and the neighbors in the community to acquire the property and bring it back to operation. We look forward to the designation and potentially also expediting all of the works that need to be done, the health and safety permits that need to be pulled in order for this cafe to go back to operation. Thank you, Emma, for the presentation, and we look forward to working with the community and the commission as well.
Wow. Thank you. Commissioner Malofsky, we do not have any more hands raised for this item. But
I see Ryan Ferguson from the council office is here. Would you like to speak?
Yes. Ryan Ferguson, you have been unmuted. Please unmute. Council District 15.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Ryan Ferguson. I'm Councilman Joe Buscaino, San Pedro Field Deputy. First and foremost, I do want to, on behalf of the councilman, thank planning staff for their diligent efforts and for meeting us out there on site back in February. I also do want to thank Emma for her diligent efforts and the wonderful and very informative presentation on walkers. So Emma, thank you very much. The only thing that I'm going to say here is that our office is in support of historic cultural monument designation for Walker's Cafe. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We have one more caller for public comment. Ginger, you have been unmuted. Please unmute. Ginger, you have been unmuted. Please unmute on your end. Ginger, one last time. You have been unmuted.
Okay, well, let's move on, Diego.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you. Right. Let's close public comment on item number 6. Again, Emma, I think Richard said it, a lot of the community said it, the council office said it. I want to reiterate, excellent presentation. Thank you for enlightening us all on the building. Commissioners went on the tour of the property, or at least outside the property. Any comments?
Yeah, Richard Barron, I was on the tour. We weren't able to get inside. We were able to look through the window. I mean, it's sort of all there. It's, hasn't been used in a while, and it's needs some TLC. I'm supportive of making this a monument. I think this is an important building for San Pedro, has been expressed by the applicant and the community. But we should all remind everyone that this commission can make the building a monument, but we don't make the use a monument. So we always have this problem where it could turn into, a cigar room or whatever, anything. We don't protect the use. And that's been a problem for us, with things like this. So it's really up to the community to try to get the use back to the cafe. This building is a monument. I think the commission will be supportive of this. So I'm supportive.
Who else is on the tour with Richard?
I was Diane Canner.
Diane.
No, I go along with what Richard says. I think that it's kind of analogous to what has happened to Tex Restaurant. No owner anymore, but people remember what it used to be, and so I mean, it's come to us in time to save it, and I hope we, in the future that it is safe. But I definitely support recognizing it.
I hope it isn't analogous to Texas Restaurant in terms of what the preservation actually is.
Yes.
I think its location with the Point Firm Lighthouse and the Korean, the Bell, I think really mark an important, district, an important place within San Pedro and San Pedro within the city of Los Angeles. So I'm totally supportive of the designation. Commissioner Kennard, any comments?
Yeah, my grandparents owned a small cafe in a small town, so I'm very sympathetic to cafes in neighborhoods.
Commissioner Wilder?
I'm supportive as well.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Yeah.
I'll move. This is Commissioner.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
All right, this is Commissioner Buelma, and I move that we recommend that the City Council consider Walker's Cafe, located on 700 West Paseo del Mar, and declare this the Walker's Cafe a historical cultural monument, and accept staff recommendation. This is Commissioner Kennard. I second.
Allison Awat for the record. Commissioner Buelna?
Yes.
Commissioner Kennard?
Yes.
Commissioner Barron?
Yeah. Yes.
Commissioner Canner?
Yes.
and Commissioner Malofsky.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Great, thank you. All right, I guess that wraps up our agenda for today. Our next regular meeting of the Cultural Heritage Commission will be on Thursday, April 7th, 2022 at 10 a.m. I'd like to thank the commissioners and the public for your attendance and look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
And time is now 10:11.
Thank you all.